Sir Paul McCartney is taking legal action against Sony as he fights to reclaim ownership of the Beatles hits he wrote or co-wrote with John Lennon. The musician has filed a lawsuit in New York to regain the rights to songs including Love Me Do and All You Need Is Love. Let's go to Abbey Road, North London, and be joined there by Stephen Budd, co-chair of the Music Managers Forum and an artist manager. Stephen, a very good afternoon to you. What's the motivation of Sir Paul in this? Is it purely pride, a determination to wrest back the fruits of his creative loins, or is there a commercial angle? Does he just want to get his mitts on the back catalogue?
Well, there's certainly a commercial angle. Sir Paul was made aware by Michael Jackson, who was his friend at the time, and of course they recorded Ebony and Ivory and back in the day, that the real value of the music resides in the music publishing, in other words, the copyrights. And ever since that point, he wanted to gain control of his own copyrights of the songs that he wrote with John Lennon and of course on his own. But unfortunately for him, Michael Jackson stepped in and bought those rights before he had a chance to buy them himself. And Michael owned them for a long period of time and eventually sold them to Sony. In fact, did a joint venture deal with Sony ATV. So Sony ended up owning those rights. Now, the situation is that Sir Paul wants to get those copyrights back, and after 56 years, the law in America states that after 56 years since the song was originally released, those rights can revert to the writers. So he's putting in a claim to get those songs back so that he has them under his control, which is, he's perfectly entitled to do, but that would be for America only. And the reason he's put in this court case is he wants to make sure that Sony acknowledge that those copyrights will be returned to him in 2018. The first ones become valid. That's 56 years after the original release. And he's doing it primarily because there was a court case recently with Duran Duran, who under another statute attempted to regain their copyrights, and they took a court case out in the UK. But unfortunately, the copyright law in the UK is very different to that in America, and their case failed. It's currently, I think, under review, and they're thinking about whether they're going to appeal that. But that's why Sir Paul has taken this case. He's done it preemptively to establish directly with the American legal system that he is indeed entitled to get these copyrights back for America only.
It's pretty arcane and technical, as legal cases tend to be. But is it the case, Stephen, that they are trying to regain something that they never had? I mean, was it the case they never had this copyright because maybe in the early days,
yes,
when they were just coming into the business, they just signed on the dotted line, didn't really look into it too closely, not thinking they were going to be around for very long?
Yeah, that's correct. They never owned their own copyrights. Well, I mean, that's not quite true, because they had a publishing company, Northern Songs, which was the original publishing company back in the very early 60s. But they didn't own that company outright, and those rights were then transferred between different companies and have ultimately ended up being owned by Sony ATV for a period of time. So yes, he doesn't own his own copyrights, and he'd very much like to do that.
Yeah. And just to be clear, is it an earner? Did Michael Jackson profit from his decision?
Michael Jackson made a lot of money. I was nearly going to use a four-letter word there. He made a lot of money.
Lots is a four-letter word, Stephen, rest assured.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, he made a huge amount of money. The Beatles the value of the Beatles catalogue is probably the most valuable music publishing catalogue in the world, actually. It's never stopped being played on radio anywhere around the world. As you well know, any lift you go into, they're playing Beatles songs. Any bar you go into, they're playing Beatles songs. And that's generating revenue everywhere it's played. So there's an incredible amount of ongoing revenue that's generated by that. And as I say, the law in America says that after 56 years, the original writers can reclaim the ownership of their own songs. And that's what he's attempting to make sure that happens, rather than it getting into some long, drawn-out legal battle with Sony in a couple of years' time.
Stephen Budd, very good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.